If a new show about treasure hunters that aired in 2010 had you hooked to your TV, this movie is for you. The show aimed to uncover ancient, forgotten artifacts, whether they were national treasures or unique artifacts. Here we reminisce about the lives of the American Pickers hosts, who tragically lost their jobs while lovingly guiding viewers through the treasure hunting show. On January 18, 2010, this reality show had its launch. The show's hosts scoured the nation for collectors to add their antiques to their shop, which they subsequently purchased. If you refer to it as a rubbish collection show, we will not mince words. As many as 5.4 million people tuned in weekly throughout the first season. Everyone loved it. Among individuals ranging in age from 25 to 54, it achieved the highest rating for a new non-fiction show in 2010. We are on the prowl for rusted treasure as we traverse the remote roads of America. In people's barns and garages, we hope to find incredible treasures. What the general public considers trash, we view as potential profits. As a profession, we retell America's story piece by piece. Members of the crew looked through people's houses, barns, sheds, and other structures to find relics and antiquities. Hoarders, both amateur and serious, as well as those who had received large bequests and were unsure of what to do with them, were among those they visited. Everyone in the group was an expert in their own specialty. When it came to vintage cars, Wolfe was all about penny farthings, vintage bicycles, vintage motorbikes, and air-cooled Volkswagens. Fritz, on the other hand, was nuts about oil cans, vintage toys, vintage Hondas, and peanuts. From its first office in LeClaire, Iowa, to its second in Nashville, Danielle Colby oversaw antique archaeology with her exceptional research and organizational skills. She became the team's go-to source for potential leads. The hosts have been absent for 24 seasons and 376 episodes. Rita Wolfe gave birth to Mike Wolfe in Joliet, Illinois, on July 25, 1964. His mother has 2 children with him. The Wolfe siblings include Robert, Robbie, and Beth. He and his siblings were brought up by their mother after their parents' divorce. Poor living conditions were the driving force behind Mike's decision to become a rubbish picker at a young age. As a 6-year-old, Mike sold his first assortment of unwanted items. He found the old bike in a neighbor's trash and decided to take it. He fixed the bike and then sold it for $5. From that point on, Mike would take a short snooze in order to go through the garbage can and retrieve random items, things that were deemed not useful, and you know what? It generates a tidy profit for him. He was a professional bike racer and owner of 2 bike stores before becoming famous for garbage picking. The show American Pickers was supposedly created by him. He and his college pal Fritz assist people make a life out of rubbish by going door to door, finding people's barns, garages, and trash, and buying what they call rusty gold from them. What a remarkable thing! As a result, he is now widely recognized as the junk picking industry's undisputed king. His innovative show concept was first rejected by multiple TV networks, but fate intervened when the History Channel took notice. He is not just a co-host but also the show's originator and executive producer, as mentioned before. To put it simply, he is the American Idol. After a ceremony in Lapers Fork, Tennessee styled after "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou?" on September 8, 2012, Mike and Jody Faith were married. Charlie Wolfe is their new little bundle of joy. He lived in a building that had been a grocery store and boarding house since 1860 in LeClaire, EOYA. It was bought for $175,000 in 2004 and overlooks the Mississippi River. 2 home decor boutiques, a patio, and a 2-car garage are on the ground level. Mike's humanitarian work has grown as a result of his achievements. Among the organizations that have benefited from his hosting and fundraising efforts are the American Society for Pediatric Oncology (ASPCA), St. Jude's Children's Hospital, Operation Smile, and local animal shelters. In addition, he promotes children pickers by establishing an online forum where kids between the ages of 7 and 13 may share and discuss their picks. A How to Guide to Picking, a children's book he authored, was also following his first book, American Picker's Guide to Picking. This was his second literary endeavor. With his collections, which include shops, books, products, and endorsement deals, Mike built a personal empire. In addition, his experiences as a scavenger have inspired a CBS sitcom that he created. In addition to that, he is listed as the show's executive producer. A few years ago, after the $8.7 million restoration of the historic Franklin Theater in Franklin, Tennessee was finished, Mike was asked to provide the green room with historical fixtures from the 1940s. Since the show's cancellation on March 8, 2023, he has continued to host the American Picker. The elder brother of Mike, Robert Wolfe, came into this world on April 26, 1960. A single mother brought him and his siblings, Mike and Beth, into the world. To this day, their father's identity is still unknown. Robert began collecting at the young age of 8. As his interest in antiques expanded, he and his brother started a business restoring and reselling used bicycles. They eventually realized they could make a living at it. Stores for storing, restoring, refurbishing, and selling vintage cars and other items quickly sprouted up. At present time, the brothers are considered experts in their industry. Melanie Wolfe is Robert's wife, and the couple has 4 kids together. He finds great joy in spending time with his loved ones and sharing their Instagram photos. He is not alone in his antique collection, his kid is as well. Rob is more than simply an antiquarian, and he's been in the corporate world for a while. The company R.J. Wolfe & Sons was founded by him. The Davenport, Iowa-based business specializes in landscaping. In January 1992, the business came into being. Its existence dates back over 30 years. Own Around Town Outdoor Services, a corporation controlled by Jimmy Holt, acquired the business in 2019. He also followed his heart and tried to make a living as a musician. His family's affection allegedly prompted him to withdraw from the spotlight just as he was about to become a rock star. Prioritizing his family became his top priority. Insisted on remaining steadfastly married to his wife no matter what. He began his musical career in the 80s and didn't stop till the 90s. He has a deep understanding of antiques and has been collecting them for over 35 years. His passion for vintage and motorized items has taken him to the farthest corners of the globe, where he has found priceless gems and learnt the fascinating stories behind them. He thinks everything has a story that can be recounted again and again. In his efforts, he seeks to return these priceless artifacts to their proper historical context. After Fritz quit American Pickers, Mike asked his brother to join him as co-host. As a result of their close relationship, the brothers are frequently seen together as they traverse the United States in search of what they call rusty gold in abandoned barns and garages. Davenport, Iowa is the site of Fritz's birth on October 11, 1955. Bill Fritz and Susan Fritz were his parents. His mom remained at home and his dad worked as a chemist. He and his sister were both raised in Ohio, however, little is known about her. He has American citizenship but no identifiable ancestry. There is no information regarding his plans for higher schooling. Nevertheless, he did attend a local high school. An interest in collecting antiques may be more appealing to retirees who long for the days of their youth, but anyone can form the habit of collecting. Like his pal Mike, Frank experienced this intense yearning when he was a kid. According to him, this started when he was a kid and got out of hand when he started collecting staples. Despite his interest in stamps, coins, and razor blades, his lifelong collecting goal was beer cans. He became famous for that. They became friends and shared a love of junk picking after meeting at Iowa's Bettendorf High School. Frank did admit, though, that they weren't quite best friends at first. Rather, their interests brought them together. Toys and automobiles were Frank's world. He co-founded the vintage archaeology store with Mike. He continued to be a collector all through his adolescence. Motorcycles, dirt bikes, and other large objects, as well as various forms of memorabilia, quickly fell into his possession. Even though he had fun doing it, he decided not to make a living at it after finishing high school. For nearly 25 years, Frank served as an Iowa fire inspector. Buildings needed to be inspected by him to ensure they were safe and up to code. Great work and props to him. A vital public service that ensures the safety of the community is fire inspection. While serving the public, Frank took advantage of the chance to amass a collection of firefighting relics and tools. He got a bright idea, and he was soon running a successful business selling his memorabilia. For him, it was the start of a fresh path. It was Frank's finds that he gave his antique store. While both Frank and Wolfe began collecting at a young age, it was Wolfe's pursuit of tarnished gold that inspired the notion of recording. Then, as reported in Southeastern Antiquing and Collecting magazine, began pitching his concept to various networks. After Frank had to close his antique store stocked with Frank's findings, Wolfe persuaded Fritz to join him in filming films. The two of them would constantly record themselves as they drove to different locations. Frank and Mike Wolfe co-hosted the American Pickers show from the beginning. Beyond that, he has made numerous appearances on other shows, including the Rachel Ray Show in 2010, the American Restoration Show in 2011, and the Cindy Entertainment Show in 2012. Many shows featured him, including American Dad 2017, Pawn Stars 2017, and Late Show with David Letterman 2017. Frank has a passion for classic motorcycles in addition to his love of antiques and his time spent as a TV star. When he was a little kid, his parents let him buy a 1964 Harley-Davidson as a piece of junk. However, Fritz now has a barn full of classic motorbikes, and he used his expertise in the field to write How to Pick Vintage Motorbikes, which was published 3 years after American Pickers first came out. Since he is a traditionalist who has never shared details of his personal life online, nobody knows whether he is married or not. We all know he was engaged to Diane Bankston at one point, but they were only deeply in love until 2017, the year they were engaged and lived together in her country home. Frank and Diane reconciled when Diane discovered him in the bedroom with another lady in November 2018. However, their love did not endure. Unfortunately, a terrible occurrence occurred that completely shattered the couple. On that tragic day, it took place in their farmhouse. Unaware of Frank and his friends' plans to light fireworks, Diane was caught unaware. After lighting up, an explosion occurred, leaving her with third-degree burns on her arm, hand, and eyelashes. Friend and Frank declined to drive her to the emergency room. The rationale behind Diane's decision to withdraw her negligence lawsuit against Frank in March 2020 is because she initially filed it on January 7, 2020. His annual salary from American Pickers is around $300,000 and his net worth is reported to be around $4 million. He has resided on the Iowa farmland he purchased on May 14, 2010 for a sum of $130,000, which is currently believed to be approximately $150,000. Frank, together with Mike Wolfe, Danielle Colby, and Libby Calloway, was a co-author on the book American Pickers. The book serves as a companion to the TV series and has 6 chapters. There are hints and tips for all viewers included in the show's upcoming in-depth episodes. The group's female representative came into this world in Davenport, Iowa on December 3, 1975. Her family is devout Jehovah's Witnesses. She and her family called Chicago home. Her sister's name is Carbon Betty. She went to a burlesque show once that featured Satan's Angel, a dancer, and comedian Margaret Cho. It was then that her dream of being a burlesque dancer was born. So much so that she shared the stage with the Big Mouth Mickeys. Along with her family, she relocated back to the Quad Cities region of Iowa, where she founded Burlesque La Moustache, a professional burlesque troupe featuring 9 performers. One of them was herself, Danny Diesel. After performing in Western Illinois and Eastern Iowa, she established Danny Diesel's Bump and Grind Academy, a burlesque school in Chicago's Rogers Park neighborhood, in 2014. In 2004, she tied the knot with Englishman Robert Strong, and the pair went on to have 2 children together. But in 2012, when Colby's career on television took off, the marriage came to an end. According to her, her ex-husband finds dealing with fame and celebrity to be quite difficult. Previously, she was the owner of a vintage clothes firm in Chicago's Wicker Park neighborhood. However, the business failed within the first year. Even before the History Channel greenlit the idea of American Pickers, Wolfe and Colby were close friends. After everyone got on board with the idea, Wolfe requested Colby to run the antique store. Alexandre de Meyer, a French artist, is her husband at the moment. As a graphic designer, he also creates logos. The logo for Colby's apparel line, 4 Miles to Memphis, was also created by him. Concerns regarding women's rights pique her curiosity. Victims of domestic violence and sexual harassment or abuse receive her undivided attention and support. Word got out that Colby had quit American Pickers and that some terrible thing had happened to her. When viewers couldn't see her on the program, they began to wonder where she was. Because of his health, Colby had to step away from American Pickers for a while. She had a hysterectomy in late 2022 because uterine fibroids were so uncomfortable. She acknowledged that following the exhausting operation, she lost interest in working. However, her followers are eternally glad that she rediscovered her passion. The second tragic event that had viewers on the edge of their seats was the sequence of tornadoes that hit the Midwest on Friday, killing several people. Colby was also affected by this. The whole house was trembling, so Colby said she hid under the table. After the incident, she took to Instagram to reassure her fans, "Oh my, it's tornado time. Oh, I'm doing fine." Last night, when a tornado was forming over our Orion, Illinois neighborhood, I remained crouched in the basement with my daughter Memphis and Oliver. Neither of our houses has taken too much of a beating and is still standing. Until Frank abruptly ceased appearing on American Pickers in March of 2020, the show had a fantastic free run. March 2020 is the month that most of us remember, since that's when the globe went dark, as well as many of us who stayed behind. This was the month that the History Channel star's last Pickers episode aired. We previously learned that Frank had willingly stepped away from the show to address what he claims were back troubles. During an interview, Frank opened out about his struggles with a back ailment. It is surprising that his supervisor and co-star, Mike Wolfe, did not attempt to contact him to inquire about his health after he underwent treatment. Mike finally spoke out about it after keeping mum for a long time. This made Danielle feel the need to weigh in as well. In August of 2021, she wrote that, in her opinion, Frank had harmed everyone on the show and that she needed to set the record straight. It has been painful to see Frank inflict so much suffering on himself. I sincerely hope that after years of being sick, Frank gets the treatment he needs to get well. I will refrain from being critical of those in need because it is not my job to do so. There were obviously many unanswered questions, and Colby attempted to provide a broader perspective. Frank's story was one of maturation and transformation, but he lost his composure once his former co-stars said their goodbyes. The former reality star's remarks evolved throughout August. He ended his mini-rant with a furious "fuck you" after calling Wolfe's statement bullshit and claiming that no one had even phoned to see how he was doing. A sense of unease was growing. Afterwards, Robbie, Mike's brother, took Frank's spot on American Pickers, a choice that caused varied reactions from many people, including the show's viewers. Although the other History Channel stars were first tight-lipped about Frank Fritz's personal problems, Wolfe tried to clarify why his old friend was not being asked back after all the back and forth in the press. "We all do care about Frank and we want him back on the show," Wolfe wrote plainly in mid-August. "I wish we could have another conversation with him, we really would. Unfortunately, he is just not good at it. Frank is simply dealing with his own personal struggles with addiction. Regrettably, his current state is a result of his own choices." There appeared to be more to the story, as the reality star had been open about her previous 11-month alcohol-free period. However, following the August leak of Mike's remarks, Frank also reaffirmed his sobriety. He mentioned that he has gone to rehab and has been sober for 11 months. "I had lost interest in alcohol. My mom's death 5 years ago was caused by alcoholism. She was an alcoholic. My grandpa passed away because he was an alcoholic. I was not pleased by that." Frank had a different outlook on the show when he initially departed from it. Even back then, fans were holding out hope that he could make a comeback to the show. However, it appears that his attitude shifted as time went on. Colby's statement about the event provides some clarification. "The passing of Frank has left me feeling really heartbroken. Concerning his difficulties, I am deeply saddened. Over the previous 10 years, I have seen every single one of them. My thoughts are not the gospel, yet I will not speak them because they are my thoughts. When our acts bring instability, sorrow, or suffering to other people, we must take responsibility for them. I wish things had turned out differently." Upon arriving at the local hospital, physicians diagnosed Frank with a severe stroke after discovering him unresponsive at his house in Davenport, Iowa. He was finally cleared to enter a residential rehabilitation center after a month of admission, marking the beginning of his long and difficult road to recovery from the devastating neurological crisis. Monthly health care costs for Frank were close to $23,000. A temporary guardian and financial conservator were appointed by the court to handle the star's affairs after his stroke limited his function. Even while he was in the hospital, his quarrel with Mike persisted. However, Wolfe brushed aside his resentment and shared on Instagram during their argument, saying, "There have been a lot of opinions about my friendship with Frank in the show, but this is not the place to set the record straight. Please join me in praying for my friend Frank right now. Above everything else, I hope that you are able to survive this. Beloved, I adore you." After his childhood friend's departure from American Pickers in February 2023, Wolfe said that the show had lost its charm. "Frank will always be missed. He is missed, just like you do." It appears that the two buddies have finally put the past in the past after a lengthy period of animosity. They got back together in 2023 over Memorial Day weekend, even though Frank hasn't been accepted back into American Pickers since 2020. During their reunion, they supposedly caught up, reminisced, and discussed their 2011 performance on David Letterman's The Late Show with David Letterman, one of their first major talk show appearances. Both men were moved to tears during their reunion, as Frank was still in the process of recovering from his stroke and, as expected, emotions ran high. "Nobody can replace you," Frank Wolfe actually said to his former co-host. Despite fans' wishes for a Pickers reunion on television, Frank's friend, who was present for the reunion, let them know that, while Mike has expressed his want to have Frank return to the show, Frank is currently focused on his health. The feud seems to have died down, but when American Pickers returns for season 25, viewers will be able to speculate as to whether Frank will make a return.